Now I'd like to go to a person that I'm really proud to introduce to you this evening. As you know, a couple of months ago, I came up with this idea of trying to introduce hobby shop owners to the audience. And we've had some. This is the first hobby shop owner who is a member of the National Retail Hobby Shop Association. And I've been talking to them for some time. I wrote an article and they were kind enough to publish it in their publication. And I've been trying to get their members to, frankly, to come on the show and to talk to us about their hobby shops and what they do. And one of the board members gave me Mark Poggendorf's name and said, well, you ought to talk to Mark. You got to talk to Mark. So Mark was the first member of the association that I called, and he and I talked for a while. And everything that he said, I agreed with. I mean, it makes so much common sense. And if I lived closer to his hobby shop, I'd be in there an awful lot. So I'd really like for you to meet Mark Poggi of Poggies Trains. And Mark, thank you so much for being here this evening. I really do appreciate you taking the time.
Well, thank you for having me on today. Nice to see you.
Well, listen, let me start this. Maybe can you tell us where you're located and what you're all about?
Okay, well, we're located in Rohnert Park, California, which is just north of San Francisco, about 50 minutes north in the heart of the wine country. A year and a half ago, we moved from Santa Rosa. We were there for 11 years, and the landlord finally sold that building, so we had to move locations. So we did. We found a little bit bigger store, a lot easier access, better parking. And we are specifically a model railroad store. We do not sell anything other than model railroad products. And
well, that's awfully unusual.
It is. It's very strange. I get told that quite a bit. Really, how I started this store was about 11 years ago. I also build classic and antique cars, restoration business, 35 years doing that. And about 11 years ago, I was going, almost 12 now, I was going to put my new Roadrunner in my garage that I just finished, and my garage wasn't big enough. So I thought, well, my wife wouldn't let me move the wall into the living room. So I told her, well, I'm going to start a train store or go a train layout, excuse me. And so I went to all the places that I normally go to get stuff from years back. I started in trains as a child, and all those places were gone. There was nobody around my area selling model railroad products whatsoever. So about a month later, we were heading to Southern California where my wife's family is. And I went down there with a wad of cash in my pocket, hit all the major train stores down there, and I couldn't buy anything. I tried to buy track. I tried to buy the basic stuff to build a layout. So I came back to my shop, and this was when the economy was really turning bad in 2008 and 9. And I had all this hot rod parts in my showroom that my high-end customers, they just write checks. They don't come in the store very often, but the do-it-yourselfers would come in on Saturdays and buy a load of parts. Well, that was gone because they didn't have the money. So I'm sitting there with a whole big showroom full of stuff, and I thought, well, I wonder what it takes to open a train store. So I called Walthers up and ordered what I thought was a huge order, and it filled about a third of one wall of pegboard. And I thought, man, we got a long way to go. So we just started growing the business from there. I started doing train shows, and now I do shows from here to New York. So normally I'm gone prior to COVID, 3 months out of the year with a truck and trailer. And I've done Amherst, I've done Timonium, North Carolina, Texas, Ohio, Iowa, Nebraska, you name it, we've done it, California, et cetera. So that brings a lot of customers in, and we're now finally working on a web store, which I know we're a little late to the game on that, but we do actually like to talk to people. So that's kind of how we got started. And my premise is I want to have this stuff in stock that people need to build a layout, or if they want to come in and, oh, my train doesn't run, we can fix it for them, or we can sell them the supplies they need to actually do that.
Mark, the people that you hire for your store, are they model railroaders, or are they just people that sell whatever?
No, they're model railroaders. No, we are all model railroaders in here. In fact, my wife and I and Dick and James are all members of the National Model Railroading Association. And my daughter is even a member of the NMRA. Was now she's 18, so now things are changing with her, of course. But she's a past modeler. We are all members. Everybody that's in the store here is members of our modular group here in town. We actually have a modular model railroad that we take to shows, and we did our first show with all of our new modules in Sacramento in January. And that was a big success for us. So yeah, we're actually modelers. I custom build layouts for customers. I do bench work, and then also offer all the products that actually work together. We have a lot of people come in that have bought stuff off the internet. Oh, this doesn't work with that. It's not compatible. So we're problem solvers, and it tends to make people return to our store.
What do you see? What's your biggest challenge being a modern railroad hobby?
Our biggest challenge, to be honest with you, is the internet. Straight up. We have guys come in here, they'll milk me for information for several hours, and then they'll come back in and buy a little tidbit and tell me about this layout they built. And then I'm looking at them like, okay, what's going on? And then I find out that they got on the internet and just bought a bunch of track or bought a bunch of whatever they needed. I just had that happen today, in fact, with a gentleman who I spent hours with. And so that's our biggest challenge. And we try to price all our stuff compatible with the internet. So we try to run the price deals and everything else to make it affordable, because we know at full list price, you can't sell a lot. You have to discount your products. So we try to do that. And then we offer after the sale support, service, and we actually know what to sell the customers. We try to talk to them and find out what they're doing, what they want their model railroad to be, what their vision is, and then we sell them the products that are appropriate for it. But I would say there's a good percentage of the time we just get those people that go home and just sit there on the internet and buy up thousands of dollars worth of stuff, and we don't get any of that revenue.
Gotcha. So how do you counter that? I mean, what's your solution to this situation?
Well, what we do is, obviously we're not going to get that revenue back, but I think what's made us really successful is doing a lot of the train shows. So we get out there, we get to meet our customer base that we do send stuff to, and they call in orders. Like we were recently in Seattle a few weeks ago, and we had a great show up there, and it was really interesting to meet some of the customers that have been buying from us that we've never met before and put faces to names. And that has allowed us the ability to keep the business going. Because if we just relied on having a sign on the door and local advertising, I don't think there's a train show in the United States that would survive.
I get it.
The next level with the internet store.
Now, do you have an internet store? Do you sell?
Right now, no, we actually have not had one. We just started building that, and so we're hoping to launch that within the next 3 to 4 weeks. It's a lot of work, and just my wife and I, and both of us had some serious health issues last year, so that really slowed us down. Un-COVID related, both heart issues, but that put us probably a year behind, to be honest with you, in what our goals were. And then with the COVID, that just kind of screwed everything up too.
So really, when you open a web store, then people from all over the world will be able to buy it from your website.
That's true. Yeah. It's really neat when we have people come in, because we've done shows in England, or not England, New York and stuff like that. We have people who will come in, travel from England to New York. And then, so now we're a destination business. So when they come to the West Coast for vacation, they come in and they say, oh yeah, I'm from England. We have, or Germany, France, we have a lot of international customers that make a point to come by our store. And one thing that we offer that most stores do not is we offer a lot of pre-owned stuff. I have no problems with buying estates and collections in all scales. So people have a lot of choices when they come in the store that you wouldn't have walking into most train stores that are merely ordering from all the new suppliers. I would say it's become about 50% of our business.
You have a repair or service station part of your hobby shop?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And we are Soundtracks and TCS certified DCC installers. And then we also offer repairs on everything from the small scales on up. Biggest challenge lately with parts, is parts for repairs. So we've politely declined to take some repairs for a while because we have a lot of stuff stacked up that we've been waiting on parts. But I'm starting to see the supplies coming, finally getting out of some of these containers, and that'll allow us to start receiving customers' repairs again, because that's a huge part of our business too. And with the COVID onset, that really made it difficult for us to get revenue out of that because we just couldn't get parts.
What about scratch building supplies? You have scratch builders? I mean, are you catering to scratch building?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. In fact, we have carried the Mount Albert lumber. A couple other brands. We carry the Evergreen Styrene. We have the entire big display, and it's constantly full. We're waiting for our K&S metals display to come in so we can have metals. So we do like scratch builders. I'm going for my MMR personally, so I'm a big advocate of scratch building and so forth. So that's kind of why I wanted all that stuff in the store too, so I can just go over and grab it when I need it. But don't tell my wife that. No, my wife can hear me. She's over there. So yeah, we like to really cater to the modelers. At Christmas time, we get in a ton of toy train sets, and that brings in a whole nother crowd, which is wonderful. Our Christmas seasons have been very bountiful the last couple of years in that respect. And then after Christmas, a lot of times you don't see them come back. A small percentage will start building a pike or layout. But a majority of our regular modelers are, and we have a lot of MMRs in our area and a lot of guys building new layouts. So they love coming in and just raiding the evergreen styrene and the wood racks for all the stuff they're building.
What about clubs and that kind of thing in your area? Are they very active, or?
We do have the RAD region of the NMRA, which is local. They're pretty active. We have 2 modular clubs in a Santa Rosa area. One is fairly inactive right now, but our club is really spiking up. There's a group of us that left the other club because we wanted to do something different. And so we did that. So we have a 40 by 60 layout that we take to the shows. It's HO scale and all DCC and so forth. So, and we're striving to just be better modelers every time we take it to a show. We want improvements, just really get the quality level up there on the modules that go to these shows, because our feeling is that that's a lot of people's first impression of model trains. When they go to a train show for the first time and see these modules, that's what their first exposure is. So we want that to be top notch and run flawlessly for them.
One of the things the Mike show wanted me to ask is about your ordering from, say, Walters or the other suppliers. Do you have a certain time of the week that you place an order where modelers can call in and say, you know, if you next order for Walters include this, I want this and this and this. Do you have that capability?
Yes, we do. My rule is we're closed on Monday. So Mondays are the days when I get a lot of things done that I don't get to do during the day in the store. So Mondays are the day I sit down and do all my ordering. And that happens every Monday. It's rare that I think it's probably only happened a couple of times where I haven't had to place an order because I just don't have enough stuff, but that's really rare. And then we restock. We stock the full line of KD products. That's another product that just flies off the shelf in our store. I have every number that KD makes in stock. And that's one of the things I religiously believe in keeping in stock. And I noticed that a lot of stores don't do that. And so I have a big rack with all the numbers in there. Even the narrow gauge, the goofy stuff is all there. And we've been well known for that. And we also take another rack on the road to the shows. So that is another thing we're known for. So yeah. And then Mondays are restock days. Sometimes I have to do it twice a week. At Christmas time, sometimes I'm ordering 2 and 3 times a week.
Do you encourage modelers to give you a call and try to place their orders so that they can get it? Shipping cost is what they're trying to get away from. If they can have it in your order, then you know everything comes to your store, and then they can either pick it up there or you can arrange to get it to them.
Yes, we do encourage that, because when we order from the suppliers, I order in such big quantities that a lot of times we don't have to pay shipping. So we pass that on to the customer. They can call it in. It comes in on a stock order, and they have no shipping cost to them whatsoever. They just got to come in and pick up the product.
Gotcha. Let me ask you this. What can a modeler do to help a business like yours be successful? I mean, besides coming in your store and buy products, what else can a modeler do to help you?
Well, that's one thing I've noticed. A lot of young models, and the other gentleman touched on that earlier, mentoring programs and getting the word out there. A lot of the modelers, even in our area, I experienced this. And when I started really getting into it heavy and wanted to aspire to become an MMR, a lot of the guys just don't want to let go of their secrets, and they don't want to let the younger generation be exposed to model trains. We have a ton of younger people coming in our store annually, and I encourage them. We try to show them things. We try to get a throttle in their hand. We have a couple of very tiny display layouts that we run. We're building a new one now, a bigger one. But we try to get them interacting with us. And it's really discouraging for these younger people. And I'm not just talking little kids. I'm talking people even in their 20s and early 30s. Oh, don't touch that. And I'm not telling you anything. So I think if the modelers would just take a much more open approach to talking to younger people and realizing that there is a tremendous amount of interest in this hobby, in the younger generations. A lot of them don't know how to do anything, or their skill set is very minimal. But if somebody takes the time who is very educated and has been doing this for a long time to show them, they tend to be repeat customers. And I have quite a few repeat customers who are in their 13 to 15-year-old range who their parents don't mind spending the money, and they'll spend good money for nice products because the kids enjoy it, they respect it, and it keeps them away from the TV and the video games. So that's one thing that I think would be huge.
Well, you know, some of the modelers on the show, when I first announced that I wanted to have the hobby shop owners on the show, they said, well, talk to them about the clinics, because modelers on the show, some of them feel that, you know, if the hobby shops had some clinics that people could come to and learn some of the things, how to do the basic skills of model railroading, that would be beneficial both to the hobby shop and particularly to the modeler.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's something we moved into this building a year and a half ago. And that obviously COVID had started, but as soon as we get a little more clear of COVID, I am going to start doing clinics. I've been told I'm pretty good at scenery. We have our own line of polyurethane foam scenery, rock molds, etc. I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start doing clinics on DCC. I'm going to start doing clinics on basic building a layout, either a 4x4 or 4x8, because I have a full wood shop out in the shop, so I can literally construct this. So we want to start doing 1 to 2 clinics a month in our store out in the shop, and we also want to video those and put them on YouTube. Have our own YouTube channel on that. And a lot of it's going to be a lot of the basic starting stuff, because a lot of people, if you start showing them how to scratch build this monster project to start with, it's intimidating. But if you show them the basics of laying track, getting a train running, doing some basic scenery with your Woodland Scenic Shakers or Scenic Express, whatever brand you like, just the basics, then they can start taking that craft to a higher level.
Exactly. Well, that sounds great. It really does. And if you'd like to come back and be on the show and show some of the clinics and so forth, or build a layout, I think that would be wonderful. And I'd love to have you do it. If you're interested, just let me know.
I am definitely interested. I think this is a great medium. And along with the younger generation, do get on YouTube. I hear that every day. We get some customers coming in talking about how they searched YouTube and looked at things. I've had people mention you many times, Jim. So it's really nice to have that medium, because that's what the younger generation really likes to look at. They like to see it. So that's why we thought not only would we do the clinics on site where people can sign up, some will be a take and make clinic, some will be a free clinic, some will be a paid clinic, depending on what we're doing. But we want to have 1 to 2 clinics per month out in the shop. But we've kind of had to wait till some of the COVID restrictions have lifted. Sure. County's fairly tough right now. We're one of the tougher counties in California. But as soon as that opportunity opens up, we will do it, because everybody in the store, everybody who's working in the store is completely vaccinated and boosted.
Right.
So
well, let's just hope that by April things have opened up, because I think the PCR convention is in April up your way. So
yeah, in fact, I'm the vendor chair for the PCR convention, and I am the PCR store clerk.
So, you know, one thought process going back to your discussion might be to think about engaging, you know, the division up there, the red division, you know, around the clinics, because it might be an interesting way to get some division folks to come in and do a clinic and, you know, get some credit for it and help you.
Yeah, that's
what
we're talking about.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good idea. I mean, because it can become a promotion for the NMRA too. It's kind of a combination. Yeah, if you like this clinic here, we have lots more things we do. And, you know, coming back to that mentoring on-ramp, the hobby shops is a mentoring on-ramp. That's an interesting thought. So,
yeah, and I don't see it being done anywhere. I literally travel from here to the east, and when I go, I always try to stop at a hobby shop somewhere. Yep. And I've seen the gamut of really awesome hobby shops to I'll never go back hobby shops, but I've noticed most of them do not offer a lot in the clinics or extra education, other than, and there's a lot of them unfortunately out there who just sell products. They're not even modelers. When you start asking them some of the more technical questions or what have you, they can't give you a straight answer, or they've hired an 18-year-old kid who literally has no clue what he's doing. Nothing against young people, but if you're going to get somebody in there in your store to represent, they really should have some knowledge. And that's what I'm very proud to say. Our store, everybody that's in here is knowledgeable. We are modelers. Even my wife has built an HO scale module that's an alien crash scene. My daughter built a heart-shaped pond module at 6 years old, and she did all the scenery and she laid the track. So there's an artistic talent with those two that's just wonderful. And then Dick, he's an older gentleman. He's been with us for quite a while now. He is quite a modeler, really into brass. His modules are almost 30 feet long, and he's a big SP modeler, and he has a gigantic yard that he brings that everything's controlled by relays. He is the electrical super guru of our club. And then we have James, who's here quite a bit. James loves ON30. So we have quite a gamut of people who model. And James has traveled a lot across the nation with me to shows. Dickie's going to start traveling with me to some of the shows. We have one coming in Victorville, and then we're going to Denver for the Rocky Mountain Toy Train Show. Those two big ones we got coming up.
What's
the other thing too that I want to mention to you, what I hear all the time from modelers is they want a hobby shop that they can go to for the basics. That's what they really expect the hobby shop to stock. If they need track, they want to go to a hobby shop and buy it. If they need the basic glues, they want to be able to get them. The more detailed stuff, the more sophisticated stuff, they don't expect the hobby shop to stack everything that a model railroader could want. But they do expect the basics to be there, and then they expect the hobby shop to help them acquire the other things that the hobby shop doesn't stock, but that they need for their modeling.
Right. And that's the whole premise. When I opened this store 12 years ago, that was my exact business model. The basics, because I went around all those stores in Southern California and couldn't buy the basics. If I wanted walls of brass locomotives, great, but I needed track to run something on. And that was what started this for me personally, was I wanted to make sure when somebody came in here, they could buy, if they just wanted a train set for something simple, they could buy it. If they wanted enough stuff to build a basic 4x8 layout, we had what they needed in stock. And then all the fancy rolling stock and locomotives are secondary. And like you said, the detail items. But we want to have everything. We have basic power supplies. We have basic DCC systems. And I've always believed in that. And I continue to follow that line of thinking.
The other thing I'll mention, we try to support best we can the small manufacturer. He's the kind of guy, he's doing it in his garage or his basement. Probably he and his wife started the company.
Right.
And they don't have a lot of revenue for advertising and that kind of thing. So to the extent we can, we try to promote those people and the products that they have. And it would be great if we could figure a way for the hobby shop community to be able to also support those small manufacturers to help them and to help the hobby. You got any ideas along those lines?
Well, the one thing I'm right there with you on that. And one of the problems that I've noticed in trying to get some of these small manufacturers in is I've called several of them up on a community base. A lot of them do not have a dealer program. And they just kind of give you the deer in the headlight look on the phone when you're talking to them. So if these small manufacturers, which I think make some of the most spectacular products out there, and I love them, if they would have a dealer program, so when a dealer does call, and I tell people, I'm a brick and mortar store and I want to carry your product. Oh, well, we don't know what the discount structure be or what we should charge. And obviously it needs to be enough of a discount where we can make some money on it because we got to pay rent by the square foot in our store. So if there are manufacturers out there that can put enough of a margin in there so that we can afford to buy the product and sell the product, that's one thing. The other thing that I ran into with a couple of smaller manufacturers is I buy the product, put it in my store. Well, some of these manufacturers had no idea that I go to shows. So they show up at a train show and they're selling their product at a severe discount. And then I come over there and I've got train shows are very expensive per square foot to pay for. So when I show up and I've got 6 booths and I'm paying anywhere from $200 to $600 a booth. And then I walk in there and find out that I'm now competing against a manufacturer that I've been buying stuff from. That tends to get my blood boiling. And especially when they're discounting it heavily. And then they come over, customers will walk by me, you're charging too much for that. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. So I've had a few words and I've actually just discontinued carrying some of these people's products because of that. So I think that some of the manufacturers need to support brick and mortar stores, especially the bigger ones, which they don't, as we know. They'll compete against you all day long. But if they would start with that premise of protecting the stores, and if a store is willing to put their product out there and display their product and sell their product, then they would be more successful. But I'm not going to go to a show and compete against them. And that has happened, I would probably say about 40% of the time with the small business lines that I brought on. So that's a big hurdle.
That's interesting because no one has mentioned that to me on the show before, but I understand exactly what you're talking about. And I also understand the difficulty that the small manufacturer has. You may be the first hobby shop that's ever called them up and said, I'd like to carry your product.
Yeah, that's happened a few times. And then I say, well, can you put some together? Think about it, call me back. And about half the time I get a call back, and I've actually brought in some. And then the other half the time I don't hear anything from them. I'll call them a second time. Right. I like to sell. I'm really good at selling things I believe in. If I find a product that I really like, or I know is a wonderful product that I can move, I'll go after it. But there's only so much I'm going to do. I'm not going to be like a dog chasing a car down the street for too long. If they don't want to play nice with me, or they just don't have any interest in offering me that product, I'm not going to do it.
Mark, how's the supply chain treating you right now? I keep hearing, well, COVID has caused this, COVID has caused that. Well, where is the supply chain right now? You getting product?
That's a good question. There's a couple of companies that won't even return our calls because we can't get any product out of them. Without naming names, there's some companies are going up for sale. We're trying to get product. We can't. I would say it's fair. It's not great right now, but I try to order in large numbers certain items, like multiple cases of track. So when Atlas finally gets an order of track in, I do get some track. So luckily we're not out of that. But there's a lot of products that we just physically can't get right now. And I know some of the big suppliers are also pulling their hair out with this one. So yes, it has definitely affected us, but that's one thing that I would say has been our saving grace, is the fact that I've been lucky to pick up a few very large estates that had a lot of product in it. So we've been able to make a lot of our customers happy with the unique products that we've been able to offer. And some of these estates have even been so fortunate to have a lot of new products in them that were never opened. As you know, model railroaders buy something, put it on a shelf half the time, and never open it. So that's been very fortunate for us, and that really has helped us through these hard couple years, buying a few very large estates. But yes, the supply chain continues to be a problematic. I can't really honestly say that it's coming out of the woods yet. I do notice that we're getting some stuff. We did have a big upset. We had to pre-order a bunch of stuff from Lionel in February. Well, it showed up December 27th, 2 days after Christmas. And there was a lot of stuff that was really would have sold at Christmas time, but I didn't have it. So I had to turn customers away, like simple transformers. We didn't have any transformers until the 27th. Well, when people really need that for around their Christmas tree, so now we've lost those sales. So that's the kind of things that we face with some of these manufacturers. And it's not really their fault, because they did put the orders in. It's just it was sitting on a boat. They couldn't get it off the boat. And then there's some companies that are just not producing, or their production has went way down on their volume, so they're not able to supply all the dealers and the distributors with the product.
Well, I also hear that finding employees is getting more and more difficult for the manufacturers, and that's also contributing to the problem.
It is. You're right. I was talking to the guys at NCE, and they're way down on employees, but they're treating us pretty good. We're still lucky to get product out of them, and they're wonderful people. But they're pulling their hair out because they can't get enough people to really fill that. And the same with TCS, another company there. But we're doing really good with those two companies. We've had a great relationship with them over the years, and they've treated me right. And so I got to throw out a shout to them that they're really doing wonderful right now to supply us with product.
Well, I can't thank you for being here. Does anybody else have any questions for Mark? Because I don't want to monopolize this time.
Mark, just two questions and thoughts.
Sure.
I mean, so it seems to me as a hobby shop owner, there are really two challenges. One is kind of that long tail of parts that you don't want to buy and put in inventory because you know somebody's going to buy one once every 2 years. You know, detail, there's just a whole bunch of that. I think this idea of how do we create an ordering mechanism where people don't go online and order those, what Jim was talking about, is really important. And it strikes me that the hobby shops don't seem to put that right out in the front. Like have a big sign that says, we order on Mondays, all orders put in by Monday are received in a week, order through us, and really promote that. Because it strikes me that a lot of modelers, when they go look for something online, if they look at it, if they just had in the back of their mind the thought of saying, why don't I call my hobby shop and see if they can get it for me, and then I'll have a good reason to go to the hobby shop in a week. If they don't need it immediately, it kind of strikes me that I think as an industry, we really need to promote that. The hobby shops, it needs to become very formalized, where we all start to think that way. Support your local hobby shop, order locally. So and it's great you're doing it, but I really wish we kind of as an industry get to promoting it. Anyway, enough said. So that's one problem is can resolve that if you can have people buy things and wait a week, you don't have that tail that you don't have the inventory, therefore they don't buy it. So the idea of visiting your hobby shop's not the end of your purchase. The second problem, it seems to me, is large items like, engines and locomotives and that kind of stuff. And that's kind of a double-edged problem. I mean, the first problem is you can't buy enough inventory to get good pricing because you don't have the demand structure for the different pieces. And the thing the internet guys went on is being able to buy those in bulk. And I've always wondered if there wasn't a way to get the hobby shops together to kind of do that as a shared inventory in some way. It's just
like a co-op.
Yeah, like a co-op. It strikes me that there are these two factors that are really make it hard to be in that business. You're kind of squeezed between the long tail of, like you said, people come into the shop, if they can't find what they want, they walk out the door. That's one side, which means now you have this horrible inventory carrying costs with the turnover that's actually, if you look at a real business model perspective, having all those KD couplers is great for the modelers. It's great to position. When you go to the turnover on certain couplers, you find that, you're not really making any money on them. And so I think those two would just be very interesting, in the industry. And you're talking about being a part of the Hobby Industry Association to say, how can the industry resolve those two issues and make it a lot easier to be in the business and do what you do?
You hit the nail on the head. And I was born and raised in Nebraska, so co-ops are a big thing for me, grain elevators. So I tried taking that approach with a few of the hobby shops around and, I don't want to compete with you or this or that. And I'm thinking it's not a competition. It gives us buying power. It allows us to do certain things. So yeah, you're right in that respect. It's tough when you can't buy everything you want. Ideally, you want to have 25 of every locomotive ever produced in stock, so you can always make them happy. One thing we've helped with turnover, because again, being a brick and mortar store, if you do on the walk-in, your turnover is terrible on certain items per year. But by going to as many shows as we normally do a year, we normally do 25 to 30 shows a year. So that allows the stuff, especially that doesn't sit in the store, or maybe we have product that we brought in from an estate or something I ordered from a company and I thought it was going to sell and really didn't. I'll take it out on the road, and 99% of the time it never sets foot back in the store. It leaves. And then we also have inventory that, okay, this is through the COVID, we had stuff sitting here. So we loaded a bunch of stuff in our trailer and it's gone to several shows and it's gone. So stuff that was sitting here is literally not here anymore. So that allows the customers, when they come through the door, to see new inventory, which it gets them excited. But yeah, I would love to see more of a co-op, but a lot of the store owners feel it's competition and I don't get it. I tried explaining it to them and giving them the business model for it. We're working with a couple of them to start to do that. And then a couple of the manufacturers, if they get wind that you're going to try to co-op, they're going to cut everybody off. So that's another problem that we're facing, trying to get okay, because, this dealer's approved, but this dealer's not. And if you sell through you to this other dealer, we're going to cut you off. And so some of these manufacturers are really inhibiting the growth of the hobby. They're kind of acting like spoiled brats, in my opinion.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, listen, anybody else have any questions for Mark?
I have one question.
Okay.
Mark, I have one question.
Sure.
Pat Rivard here. International shipping, are you having any problems with that sort of thing?
No, we really haven't. My wife has shipped stuff to some very interesting countries. Sometimes it takes a little longer, but we really haven't had a lot of problem with it.
So you kind of help them out if we're looking for something that they can't find locally, you're not in any problem trying to send it to them or giving them
No,
some
we don't have any problem sending anything. My wife's really good with any paperwork that needs to be done, and we try to ensure everything is as good as possible and give the track. And the other thing about us, we only charge the actual shipping. We don't charge a bunch of handling fees, and we don't charge a box fee or what have you. We want to get the product in the customer's hands, and we know shipping is expensive and the prices just keep going up. So we want to do our part at least to help people out. So we just do whatever we need to do. If we got to crate something up really special, we'll charge whatever that crate cost us, something like that. But as far as charging to put it in a box, we don't believe in that. We never have.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
What about shipping to Canada? I keep hearing about the problem shipping to Canada. Is that a problem for you?
Well, we haven't shipped much to Canada lately, to be honest with you.
Slow up.
Yeah, they're slow. They're a little slower. That's my wife just chimed in. They're a little bit slower up there, but
That's Canada. It's just slow.
Yeah, Canada seems to be a little slow on their end. As far as us getting it to the border, it's no problem. But we ship to England and Europe and France and Germany and Iran, Israel, Brazil, literally. And sometimes it's amazing. You'll get to Brazil in 3 days. It's like, how to do that? It's really interesting. So yeah, overall, we're not afraid of it. We have no problems doing it. We've even shipped stuff to Australia. That does take a little bit of time sometimes. But most of the stuff that we ship apparently goes air freight. So we don't really have anything that's going on a slow boat. My wife shipped a few things to China.
Do you have a website that you've set up already?
No, we're just working on that. We just got our domain name and we're just starting that website because that's the next phase. Now my wife and I are feeling better, and it's a lot of time involved to do that, but that's our next step.
Okay,
So
thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Listen, when you get your website set up, if you'll let me know, I'll have you back on the show and you can talk about your website.
Okay, I'd love to do that. No, I'd love to be a part of this. It's fun. So we got to get all the modelers in the world we can together and just promote this wonderful hobby of ours.
Well, this is why I was so encouraged to have you on the show, Mark, because when I first called and talked to you, everything that you're saying tonight is basically the conversation we had back then. And I didn't find anything that I could disagree with or that I had any problem with at all. And as I said on the front end, if I lived in California, absolutely, you would be my hobby shop and I would be in there no telling how many times a week. Because the kind of thing
we'd love to have you.
The kind of thing that you're talking about and the kind of people that you've hired, the kind of atmosphere that I sense your hobby shop has is the kind of atmosphere, it's the kind of hobby shop I grew up with. It's where I learned some basic tools and basic skills of model railroading. It's where the employees helped me figure out what I needed to do and help me figure out how to do it in a lot of cases. And those places are by and large gone now. So I can't thank you enough for wanting to be here. I want to have you back. I'll be calling you tomorrow and talking about maybe how you can participate in our show. Because what you're doing from a retail standpoint and what you're doing as far as the clinic potential and actually building model railroads for people, I see a real potential for our show with you. And so I'll be giving you a call and seeing what we can work out.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Well, everything I've done all my life, I can really thank my dad. My dad, I've been in business all my life. My dad was self-employed for most of his. He owned a whole bunch of automotive businesses in Nebraska in the Midwest in the 70s. And that was his way of doing business. You treated people fairly, you listened to them, you helped them out. You never told them a lie. You had knowledgeable people behind the counters. So he owned a dealership, a wrecking yard, 2 gas stations, an automotive repair business, and a radio station. And he was one of the best salesmen I'd ever saw. And getting to sit in with him and see everything that he did and watch him literally sell ice cream to Eskimos, a refrigerator to put it in, and then an ice cube tray, but they needed it and they were happy to buy it. And he never sold anything he didn't believe in. And I'm exactly the same way.
Well, listen, I want to talk to you a minute about the association because that's how I found you through the association. And a lot of the hobby shops that I've had on the show, you are the first one that is a member of the National Retail Hobby Shop Association.
Really?
Would you like to talk about the association a little bit?
Well, I've only become a member a little bit ago. Steve at Fundemonium is the one that turned me on to it. So I think it's a great thing. I think more hobby shops need to join organizations such as this. I see a lot of benefits, both for the business, marketing. They help you with marketing tools, sales tools. It's kind of like a big brother standing next to you. There's a lot of collective knowledge in this organization, and I feel that none of the stores tap into this. And again, like I said, I go to a lot of stores, and I always make a point to buy something, even if I don't need it. When I walk into another train store or a hobby shop, I always buy something. I never leave empty-handed. I don't care if it's a $2 widget, because I want to know the experience from start to finish. And then I kind of analyze, okay, what did I like about this shop? What did I not like? How could I apply what I like to my own store? But you're right that by not wanting to join these organizations, and I think a lot of these companies think, I don't want to spend the money. Well, it's not that expensive. And the benefits that you get out of an organization such as this greatly outweigh the cost, from discounts for certain business services that we can take advantage of. And I'm only just getting my feet wet with this organization. Steve is one of the, I think he's the president, and it's definitely helped his business grow. And he saw the opportunity for me to take my business to the next level by becoming a member. So I encourage all members. Another thing that floors me is how few train store owners or operators are members of the NMRA. That just absolutely, I've been a member. I was a teen NMRA member back in the day, and then I got into Cars and Girls, and then I came back to the NMRA, and I firmly believe in that organization too. And you walk in, and I'd say 95% of the stores across the nation, none of them are members of the NMRA. Some of them don't even know what the NMRA is. And how can you have Model Railroader or RMC or any of these magazines in your store and not even know what it is?
Well,
so I think that would be
what's amazing to me is the NMRA will pay a hobby shop for getting a new member. So if the hobby shop owner provides a new member for the NMRA kicks back a portion of that membership fee to the hobby shop owner.
Yes, they do. That's true. And nobody takes advantage of it. In fact, we just put in an order for some new signs so we can have in the store NMRA.org and everything else.
Well, listen, I can't thank you enough here this evening. Does anybody else have any questions for Mark?
Well, I sure enjoyed being on here, and I enjoy meeting you guys. This has been a lot of fun.
I thank you so very much. And like I say, I'll be calling you tomorrow, and we'll talk about the future.
Okay, sounds great.
Mark, thank you so much for being here, and best of luck to your store.
Thank you, and thank you for what you're doing, because you're definitely doing a great job in promoting this hobby.
I hope so. Sure work at it.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks so much, Mark.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.